Hello my fellow trainers and welcome back to another episode of Pokemon GO PvP Guides, and today the Pokemon in the spotlight is Muk. Now in this video we're going to be doing a basic overview of the Pokemon, talking about its typing, its weaknesses, its stats, and its max CP, and then we're going to take a look at all the moves this Pokemon can learn and pick out which moveset we think is the best for PvP, and lastly we're going to take a look at Pokemon to watch out for as well as favorable matchups for this Pokemon according to the current meta in the Go Battle League. So if that's content you enjoy, please like and subscribe, because I really enjoy making these videos, and everything that I just mentioned will be in timestamps in the description below. So feel free to hop around if you would like. Alright, so Muk. This boy is literal sludge. He's from the Kanto region, the Gen 1 boy. We are covering the Kanto variant of Muk today in Pokemon Go, not the Alolan version. They are different, they have different movesets, and both have different ways of playing them. So the Alolan Muk video will be for another day. But today we're going to cover good old Kanto Muk. Honestly, this Pokemon is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. Definitely a top 5 Pokemon for me. I don't know, I've always really liked Poison type Pokemon for some reason, and I just think his design, even though it's simple, it's pretty cool. And him being a Gen 1 boy, I'm a sucker for Gen 1 Pokemon, so that just kind of plays into it as well. But in the main games that I've played, I've always enjoyed using Muk, so a lot of reasons why I like this guy. But okay, let's go ahead and hop into the basic overview of the Pokemon. A mono poison typing, which honestly I think is a really good typing. We only have 2 weaknesses and I believe 5 resistances, so definitely more than a fair trade-off there with the weakness to resistance ratio. So let's go ahead and talk about the specific weaknesses. As a mono poison type, we are weak to Psychic and Ground. Both of those are pretty prevalent in the meta right now in pretty much every league. But we only have 2 things to really watch out for, so that's not bad at all. We can really try to put Muk in the best position for success this way and use him to, use other things to deal with those Psychic types and those Ground types that might hurt our Muk. So let's talk about the resistances. We have 5 of them. We're resistant to Fighting, Grass, Bug, Poison, and Fairy. Now all of these are great resistances. Fighting is a great one to have. Fighting is pretty relevant in every league, so Muk can serve as a safe switch into things like Machamp, things like Lucario, other things of that nature. And then we have Grass. I believe this is a great resistance for Muk because Muk, I believe, you primarily want to use in the Ultra League, and Grass has a pretty good presence in the Ultra League, so it's another good thing for Muk to have, another good resistance to safely switch into if need be. And then we have Bug, which, is not that popular. You see some things like Scizor, Heracross, Escavalier. Those are probably the most popular Bug types, and those are all pretty relevant in the Ultra League, so, that's a good placement for Muk. If you see those coming in, Muk can serve well to, not take a lot of damage from those. And we also don't take much damage from other poison types, which has a pretty good presence in the meta in the Ultra League as well. So, again, there's that. And Fairy is our big resistance because we're also super effective to Fairies. So, Muk serves very well. He is one of the ultimate Togekiss killers in the Ultra League. So, that's another great resistance to have. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stats of this boy. Alright, and the max CP. So a 190 attack is not bad at all. Puts him right about the same tier as Snorlax, honestly, as far as attack goes. And, that's not a crazy insane attack stat, but Muk does great damage. It's not like he's not doing a whole lot of damage with that attack stat. It's good. It's very decent. It's, like I said, not great, but good. And then our defense, Muk actually has a pretty good amount of bulk. He has 172 defense, which isn't like, it's about average, maybe a little less, but we have 233 stamina to pair with that. And Muk can take some hits, even some super effective attacks. Of course, just depends on what it is, but he can take some normal attacks too. He can even serve maybe potentially to soak up some damage on your team if you need him to, especially with all those resistances that he has. Muk can really do a lot of good things for you. So max CP, this has changed due to the level 50 cap increase, but if you have a Hundo Muk at level 40, he'll have a max CP of 2757. I don't exactly know what the max CP for Muk would be at level 50. Let me actually look that up for you guys. Max CP Muk level 50. Let's see what we get pulled up here. So max CP. I believe it goes up to 3117. So you don't really see much of Kanto Muk anyways in the Master League, and it's just because he doesn't really have a presence with a max CP like that. There's just so many things that outclass him. Alolan Muk maybe can do okay in the Master League due to it being a dark poison type, but honestly, I feel like Muk serves best in the Ultra League. He is such a wild card, and you'll see what I mean by that when we look at the moveset. So, speaking of the moveset, let's go ahead and hop right into that. For quick moves on Muk, we can learn Poison Jab, Infestation, Acid, and Lick. And I'm going to go through each one of these individually. Honestly, I think Poison Jab is the absolute best move for Muk to have as far as a fast move goes. You know, it's stab. It really does great damage to things like Togekiss and other fairy types. And that's what we want to have on Muk. We want to use him as a means of dealing with those fairy types. So definitely I think Poison Jab is the best option there. Infestation I don't really see a need for. It's a bug type move, and we're not going to be doing much of we don't get stabbed from it, so I don't really see much of a need to use Infestation. Then there's Acid, which is an event move, and I honestly can't really speak on this. I've never used Acid. I don't have a Muk that knows Acid. However, if you have one, if you happen to have a Muk that knows this move, give it a shot in the Pokemon Go Battle League and let me know how it does. Let me know if it's better than Poison Jab or if Poison Jab is just the way to go. Now, Lick is interesting. I've considered teaching one of my Muks Lick just to see how it does. It's not a stab move, but Lick would be definitely... it would make Muk even more of a wild card in the Ultra League just because there is a lot of Ghost running around with things like Giratina, Gengar, and any other things. So having a Muk with Lick on hand to deal with those would be interesting, but then again, I think if you're going to do that, you'd have to teach him a charge move that's poison to deal with some of those fairies. But like I said, I might try that out in a showcase video. That might be a good idea in the future. But ultimately, I think the general consensus is that Poison Jab is by far the best quick move for Muk to know, in my humble opinion. Now, we go down here to the quick moves. Now, Muk actually has a little bit of, leeway with his moveset. He has a lot of things to play with here. And this, you'll see with these movesets as to why I say Muk is a wild card. So, we can learn Dark Pulse, Sludge Wave, Gunk Shot, Thunder Punch, and Acid Spray. All of these are very good moves. But to add to Muk's wild card nature, I have to say I believe this move right here, Thunder Punch, is something that really gives Muk a powerful presence in the Ultra League. He goes from being something that can just deal with fairy types to something that can deal with flying types, to something that can deal with water types. And it just makes him so powerful because people, I'm telling you guys, people do not expect Muk to know Thunder Punch. And even if they do know that he can learn Thunder Punch, and they have a flying type Pokemon out there, then they're most likely going to throw up a shield because, they know it's going to do super effective damage. It's not a stab move, but it still does really good damage and it catches your enemy off guard. I can't tell you how many times someone's thrown out a Gyarados and I've switched into a Muk, and then, I get a Thunder Punch loaded up and they don't shield thinking Muk can't possibly hurt them, and then they get either one-shotted or they're down to red HP, and they are looking very surprised. It's like that with every other flying type Pokemon. There's a lot of flyers in the meta right now, so Muk can serve very well to combat two meta prevalent types, Fairy and Flying. And there's also Water with Electric in case you come across any of those. And not only that, Poison also combats grass types, so things like Sceptile, things like Tangrowth. Muk serves well to do against them. Muk is he does very well against, a lot of these meta Pokemon in the Ultra League, and people kind of sleep on that. But like I said, adding to his repertoire of wild card moves, we also have Dark Pulse. Now, this would be better suited on Alolan Muk since Alolan Muk is actually a dark type, so he gets same type attack bonus. But on Kanto Muk, it's still not bad. And like I said, it makes him serve as a wild card because if you give him Dark Pulse, then you're super effective against Psychic, which is one of your weaknesses, and Ghost. And there's a good presence of them in the Ultra League as well. So with that, you can really create a Muk that is super effective against a really good portion of the meta. You can have Muk safely switch into things like the flyers, like Charizard and Gyarados, like I mentioned earlier. He can switch into Togekiss. and other fairy types with his poison moves. And not only that, Togekiss will be super effective by Thunder Punch as well, since it's a flying type. And then, if you teach Muk Dark Pulse, he can be super effective against things like Giratina, Cresselia, Mewtwo. Just watch out for those psychic types, because they'll be doing super effective damage to you too. But there's Gengar, who you'll be doing super effective damage against with Dark Pulse. There's just so many, like I said, meta Pokemon that Muk can really do well against with this moveset. And it's gotten me such tremendous results. Like I said, he is my ace in the hole, and I really enjoy using this Pokemon in the Ultra League. But let's talk about its poison charge moves. Honestly, none of these are bad options to go with either. If you want to go with a poison move, if you feel like you want to have one coverage move, you don't want to go with double coverage, and you want to have Muk with a poison charge move, that's completely understandable, and I think that is a route that, you should go if you feel like you need to. Sludge Wave and Gunk Shot, between these, it's really kind of hard to say which one's better. I actually think I'd probably go with Gunk Shot over Sludge Wave, but I would go with either of them, honestly. They're not bad moves to use, and they do really big damage, so if you get one charged up and launch it at something, Muk's most likely doing big damage. Definitely one-shotting things like the Togekiss and other fairy types, and grass types if you happen to come across them. And then there is Acid Spray. Acid Spray is a great move. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it's kind of like the Sand Tomb strategy with Garchomp, and I've run that on Muk before, and it's very effective. Acid Spray, every time it hits your opponent, it lowers their defense, I believe harshly. So Muk's just getting stronger with each consecutive hit, and Acid Spray charges up fairly fast, so you can just really spam Acid Spray, get your opponent's defense lowered, and put your Muk in a better position, or put your other Pokemon in a better position to deal with that now weakened Pokemon that has lower defense. And that's a really good strategy to run if you like to run something like that. I did it for a long time, and then it got me a lot of good results too. But, okay, in conclusion, I think the most ideal moveset for Kanto Muk is Poison Jab as the fast move. I don't know much about Acid, like I said, and Lick would be interesting to try, but maybe that'll be a topic video for another day, like I said. So Poison Jab, I think, is what you want to go with. And then for the main moves, I would highly recommend the double coverage set, Dark Pulse and Thunder Punch. You'll really catch a lot of Pokemon off guard. And, Muk, it just makes Muk very versatile to deal with a lot of those different threats, like I said, because a lot of them are popular in the Ultra League, and having super effective moves against a lot of the meta, we obviously see why that's effective. But if you want to go with a poison type charge move, of the three, I'd probably recommend Acid Spray, just to break down those Wally Pokemon. But if you want to go with Gunk Shot or Sludge Wave, that's fine too. So okay, let's go ahead and talk about Pokemon to watch out for. But before that, I'll touch briefly on how I think Muk should be used. I think Muk in the sweeper role, kind of as like that ace in the hole, that wild card, as I've been saying the whole video, he serves best in that role. I've never really used Muk as a lead Pokemon. He might do well in that role, especially if someone leads with something like a Togekiss, which can happen. But I do think there are better lead Pokemon out there. I think Muk should come in and clean up threats, see what's on the other opponent's team, and then use Muk to deal with those adequately. So then, alright, let's talk about Pokemon to watch out for. We do have, I put a lot on this list, but obviously it's not that bad. Since we only have two typings to really watch out for. So on this list, I put Mewtwo, Gallade, Gardevoir. They're all Psychic-type Pokemon. Those Psychic moves can be eating us up. We definitely just have to watch out for that. However, if Gallade knows Fighting-type moves, we will resist them, so that's awesome. And Gardevoir we can actually also be super effective against due to it being a Psychic Fairy typing, so then again, not that bad. We see why it's not too terrible for Muk as far as Psychic types go. Because then we have things like Mew, Jirachi, and Alakazam, and I just put them on this list because you can see them in the Ultra League, but they're not that incredibly common. It just goes without saying, Mew, Jirachi, Alakazam, if they know Psychic-type moves, then they can hurt you. But with Alakazam, in particular, a lot of times the fast move that he knows is Counter, and that's a Fighting-type move, and that's actually one of our resistances. We just have to watch out, make sure he doesn't have any Psychic-type moves as his charge moves. So, but I definitely put Alakazam on this list. He is noteworthy to mention for that. And I put Metagross on this list. Metagross usually knows Steel moves. Metagross isn't very favorable for us for a few reasons, because he can learn Psychic moves, and if that hits us, we're probably going down. But Metagross can also learn Earthquake, which is our only other weakness is ground type. So, and on top of that, Steel resists poison type attacks. So we're really not doing anything to Metagross, unless maybe you happen to get off a Dark Pulse. Then you can probably hurt Metagross, but you won't see him around too much in the Ultra League. So thankfully, we don't have that to deal with very often, if ever. And Espeon's on this list, and Lugia, kind of the same deal, Psychic-type Pokemon. If they have Psychic moves, they can hurt you. But Lugia, we can actually be super effective against with that Thunder Punch due to the flying typing of Lugia, so that's nice to know. And then I went ahead and put some of the ground-type threats. I think ground threatens us more in the Ultra League than Psychic, because we have things like Rhyperior, Mamoswine, Swampert. Those are all very common in the Ultra League. And Swampert especially, he's probably our biggest threat because he can learn those ground type fast moves, and he can also learn Earthquake. Just a lot of things to watch out for when we're dealing with a Swampert. And we don't have anything on hand to deal with Swampert because Swampert's only weakness is grass, and we cannot learn grass moves. I put Poliwrath on this list because Poliwrath, he can learn, I always forget the name of that ground fast move. I think it's Mud Shot. I just wanted to make you guys aware of that before you switch into a Poliwrath, because with the Thunder Punch we can be super effective against him too, but he can eat us up pretty good with that ground type fast move, and that's usually what he knows. So just wanted to make you aware of that. I put Flygon on this list, who we will see ever so often in the Ultra League. He is a Dragon ground type Pokemon. He can learn things like, I believe, Earthquake, Earth Power, maybe some other ground moves, and that can really eat us up. And I put Torterra on this list, who we can see in the Ultra League as well. He is a grass ground type Pokemon. We are not super effective against him due to that ground typing. We'll just be doing normal damage, I believe. But we do have to watch out for those ground moves as well. So not a very favorable matchup for us. And I put Garchomp on this list. Garchomp you will seldom see in the Ultra League, but I have seen him around a couple times. So just be aware of that. He can hit you with those things like Sand Tomb, and he can also learn Earthquake. And Mud Shot, I believe, or Mud Slap is the fast move that he learns for his charge move, so he can really eat us up. Now, if you opt to run a Muck in the if you use a Muck in the Great League, I put Weezcash and Stunfisk on this list. Weezcash is basically great value Swampert. He is the Great League's Swampert, water ground type Pokemon. Those ground moves can really eat us up, especially that Mud Bomb. I'm telling you, that Mud Bomb makes me rage like no other. And then I put Stunfisk, both Stunfisks, G-Stunfisk and this Stunfisk. They'll be super effective against us with their ground type moves. And Melmetal I put on this list just because it's not favorable for us in the sense that we won't be doing a lot of damage to him with our poison moves. And our Thunder Punch and Dark Pulse, I think that does just neutral damage to him. So maybe even resisted, but I can't remember if Steel resists Electric or not, but yeah, so just not a good matchup for us, and Melmetal is pretty common in the Ultra League, so just wanted to make you aware of that. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the boys that Muck does well against. There is a whole lot of them. Honestly, can't put all of them on this list, but I'm going to go through that as best I can. So obviously we have the 3 fairies up here, the most common 3 fairies in the game. We have Togekiss, Clefable, Granbull. And if you're in the Great League running Muck, then I think the 2 fairies that are most popular in that league are Azumarill and Wigglytuff. And Muck is super effective against both of them as well due to their fairy typing. And with our poison moves, we can eat them up. I didn't put them on this list, but I wanted to mention it. And also put Tangrowth and Sceptile, probably 2 of the most popular grass types in the Ultra League. We'll be super effective against them with our poison type attacks, but keep in mind we're not super effective against things like Venusaur because he's also a poison type. So that's not, we won't be doing super effective damage to Venusaur. I put Gyarados on this list, like I said in my example earlier. Great matchup for us when we know Thunder Punch because he is quad affected by electric type moves due to being a water flying type. And like I said, we'll either one-shot that Gyarados or we'll get him very low and just farm him down. And then we have things like Charizard and Articuno, 2 other very popular flyers in the Ultra League. Another good switch in for Muck because a lot of times people will switch into a Charizard or, they'll throw out an Articuno to try to get some icy wins. You put in Muck, Thunder Punch them away, you're doing a lot of good damage or you're either making them use their shields. And that's the name of the game. Same deal with Honchkrow, who has gained a bit of popularity from my understanding. A dark flying type Pokemon. We are super effective against him with Thunder Punch, so That's good to know. Keep in mind, though, that Honchkrow can learn the move Psychic, so just watch out for that. If he's about to hit you with a charge move, you might want to use a shield because that Psychic can eat you up. But generally, I'd say that's a favorable matchup for us. I put Lugia on this list of favorable matchups just because, for two reasons. You know, the Thunder Punch we can use against his flying type, and if we know Dark Pulse, we can be super effective against him that way. We just have to watch out for his Psychic type moves. And then over here, I put some of the ghosts, Gengar and Giratina, two very popular Ultra League threats. And if we know Dark Pulse in this instance, we can be super effective against them. I can't tell you how many times that Dark Pulse has saved me from Giratina, who is such a menace to deal with. You know, Muk really gets good damage in on Giratina with that Dark Pulse, so it really, it's really a good, valuable move for him to know. And Gengar, if we hit him with the Dark Pulse, we're most likely taking him out because Gengar is very frail. So that's good to know. And then we have Gardevoir. Like I said, we can be super effective against Gardevoir because of our poison moves. It's super effective against Gardevoir's fairy typing, but that psychic type attacks will be super effective against us as well, so we do have to watch out for that. And then I put Gallade on this list. He's a psychic fighting type Pokemon. If we know Dark Pulse, in this instance, we can take out Gallade, but just be very careful with that because he usually knows psychic type moves, and we also have to watch out for psychic type moves from Gardevoir. But Dark Pulse can also be super effective, or no, I don't know if Dark Pulse can be super effective against Gardevoir due to the fairy typing, but our poison type attacks can, so. And if Gallade knows fighting type moves, we will resist them, so that's good to know. And I put Espeon on this list. Espeon, if we know Dark Pulse, then we can be super effective against him, but again, probably not a great matchup for us. I just like to kind of highlight the Dark Pulse and why it can be useful to know it to combat one of Muk's only weaknesses. Another Ghost Boy on this list, Chandelure. Again, if we know Dark Pulse, super effective against him. And Drifblim, who we can see around. Drifblim is actually a little more popular than you think. He's a Ghost flying type Pokemon, and he can know the move Icy Wind, so he's a very common lead Pokemon to get some Icy Winds off, lower the attack of the opponent. Very good for that, and we can be super effective against him in two ways. We can be super effective against him if we know Thunder Punch because of the flying type, and Dark Pulse because of his ghost typing. So that's a win-win for us. And hey, maybe if we teach Muk Lick, we'll be super effective against him that way too, along with Gengar and Giratina. I'm definitely gonna teach one of my Muks Lick one day and run it as a showcase video and see how it does. But okay, I put Machamp on this list. We don't have anything in the way of super effective attacks against Machamp, but we are resistant to him, and he's very popular, so it's good. It can be a safe switch in for us, so I just thought I'd throw that in there. And I put Cresselia on this list, who is a threat to us because it can learn psychic type moves. However, if we know Dark Pulse, we can combat it with that. So just throwing that out there. All right, my fellow trainers, that does it for another video. Overall, Muk, I think he is an awesome Pokemon, someone who's very slept on in terms of usability in the Ultra League. I really think you should give this guy a try. You know, if you do, I hope you use the moveset that I recommend in this video, and I hope it gets you much success. So, with that being said, thank you, my fellow trainers, and I will catch you all in the next video. Have a good one.